My child, before you scroll away, before the noise of this world pulls your mind back into the chaos, I need you to stay here with me for just a little longer. Because these next 2 minutes are not an accident. Tonight, while millions of people are sleeping peacefully, there is a soul listening to this with a silent storm inside their chest. And strangely, that soul is you. You have been carrying something you do not talk about anymore. Not because the pain disappeared, but because you became tired of explaining it. Tired of saying, "I'm okay." Tired of pretending your heart is not exhausted. Tired of smiling in rooms that feel emotionally cold. And what hurts the most is this. People around you can see your face, but almost no one sees the battle happening inside your mind. There is someone listening right now who laughed earlier today, yet cried quietly the moment they were alone. I see that. I see the nights you lie awake staring at the ceiling in silence, trying to understand why your soul has become so heavy. My beloved child, the most dangerous thing is not the storm outside. The most dangerous thing is when a person slowly becomes used to living without peace. And lately, peace has slowly been leaving your heart. Not all at once, little by little, through disappointment, through overthinking, through invisible exhaustion, through prayers you thought heaven ignored. Just like Elijah under the broom tree, after calling down fire from heaven, after surviving battles nobody else understood, he sat alone in the wilderness and whispered, "It is enough." Not because he lost faith completely, but because his soul was tired. And tonight, I believe many people listening to this understand that you are more than your dream. You still wake up, still work, still answer messages, still try to be strong for everyone else. But deep inside, something new has been quietly collapsing. My beloved child, listen carefully. The enemy rarely enters through dramatic force. Sometimes he enters through exhaustion, through hopeless thoughts, through constant distraction, through emotional numbness. He slowly teaches people to survive without joy, to exist without rest, to smile without fear. And that is why heaven interrupted you in that prayer. Not to shame you, not to condemn you, but to wake up the part of your soul that has almost been silent. Because your story is not over. I have never left you. Even now, while you feel emotionally distant, while your prayers feel weak, while your heart feels tired, I am still here. I was there during the tears nobody witnessed. I was there during the panic you hid behind silence. I was there during the moments you almost gave up completely. And my child, the reason this message found you tonight is because something is about to change. Not through pressure, not through fear, not through forcing yourself to become stronger overnight, but through my presence returning to the deepest parts of your soul. The darkness has whispered long enough. Now heaven will speak. My beloved child, there are battles that leave bruises on the body. And then there are battles that leave invisible cracks inside the soul. The second kind is the one you have been fighting with. Not many people know it, because outwardly, your life may still look normal. You still show up, still reply to people, still continue your routines, still try to laugh at the right moments. But inwardly, something has been draining you quietly, like a lamp losing oil one drop at a time. And perhaps the hardest part is this: you do not even know how to explain what you feel anymore. It is not one dramatic pain. It is not one catastrophic event. It is the accumulation of silent heaviness, the constant mental noise, the emotional fatigue, the pressure to keep going while your spirit feels empty. My beloved child, I see the moments when you pick up your phone and put it back down, not truly wanting to talk to anyone. I see the nights you try to keep yourself busy, just so you do not have to face the emptiness inside you. And lately, even the things that once brought you joy feel strangely distant. Worship feels harder, prayer feels quieter, hope feels weaker. Not because you stopped loving God, but because your soul became tired. Very tired. There is someone listening right now who secretly wonders, why do I feel emotionally exhausted all the time? And what scares you is not just the exhaustion itself, it is the fear that maybe this heaviness will never leave. My child, that fear did not come from me, because I never created your soul to live in constant anxiety. I never created your heart to survive on emotional survival mode. And yet, many of my children have learned how to function while spiritually starving. They continue moving while something inside them slowly fades. That is the invisible battle, not sudden destruction, slow disconnection. Little by little, peace disappears. Little by little, rest disappears. Little by little, the heart becomes numb. Until one day, a person wakes up and realizes they no longer recognize themselves emotionally. Just like Hannah. Year after year, she carried silent grief nobody fully understood. People saw her presence, but they did not see the sorrow she carried into the temple. And some of you listening tonight understand that deeply, because you know what it feels like to cry internally while remaining silent externally. You know what it feels like to sit in crowded rooms yet still feel emotionally alone. You know what it feels like to keep telling yourself, maybe tomorrow I'll feel better. But tomorrow comes and the heaviness is still there. My beloved child, please hear me carefully. Your exhaustion does not make you weak. Your tears do not disappoint heaven. Your emotional weariness is not proof that you failed spiritually. Sometimes even the strongest souls become tired after carrying invisible burdens too long. Even Elijah became exhausted. Even David wept openly. Even Peter sank while trying to walk toward Jesus. So why are you punishing yourself for struggling? Why do you keep believing you must hide your pain from me? I do not want you to pretend to be strong anymore. I would rather hear an honest broken prayer and a perfect religious performance. And tonight, I believe many people listening to this have not truly rested emotionally in a very long time. Your body sleeps, but your thoughts continue running. Your mouth says, I'm fine, but your spirit whispers, I need help. There are wounds inside you that nobody clapped for you surviving. Battles nobody congratulated you for enduring. Moments where you almost collapsed mentally, yet somehow continued walking, and heaven saw every second of it. I saw everything. I saw the nights you cried silently. I saw the panic hidden behind your smile. I saw the loneliness you never explained. I saw the fear of becoming emotionally lost. And my child, that is exactly why I am speaking to you now. Because the enemy has been trying to convince you that this darkness is permanent. But it is not. Your soul is tired, abandoned. Your heart is wounded, forgotten. And even now, while you feel weak, I am still holding you together in ways you cannot see yet. My child, most people imagine spiritual attacks as something dramatic, something loud, something obvious, something terrifying. But many times, darkness enters quietly, like cold air slipping through a tiny crack in the window during the middle of the night. At first, you barely notice it. And that is what makes it dangerous. My beloved child, the most dangerous thing is not a sudden collapse happening all at once. The most dangerous thing is the small cracks you slowly learn to ignore. A little more distraction, a little less prayer, a little more numbness, a little less peace, a little more noise, a little less stillness. Not enough to alarm you immediately, but enough to slowly pull your heart away from rest. And over time, the soul becomes crowded, crowded with fear, crowded with overthinking, crowded with invisible pressure, until eventually, you can no longer hear your own spirit clearly. That is why the enemy loves distraction so much. Because distraction does not look dangerous. It looks normal, constant scrolling, constant noise, constant comparison, constant mental stimulation. A restless soul becomes easier to drain, and lately, many of my children have become emotionally exhausted not because they are evil, but because they are spiritually overwhelmed. Too many voices, too many worries, too many hidden fears, very little silence. Do you remember Samuel as a child? The world around him's quiet when he finally heard my voice at night. Not because I had never spoken before, but because silence creates space for heaven to be heard. And that is what darkness has been stealing from many souls: stillness, the ability to sit quietly without fear, the ability to breathe without anxiety, the ability to feel my presence without rushing. My beloved child, there was a season where your heart trusted more easily, a season where little things brought you peace. But pain changed something, disappointment changed something, waiting too long changed something. There are people listening tonight who used to pray with expectation, but now pray with exhaustion. Not because they stopped believing, but because they became tired of hurting. And slowly, without realizing it, they started building emotional walls around their heart. Walls to avoid disappointment, walls to avoid vulnerability, walls to survive. But those same walls also block peace from entering. My beloved child, darkness often begins with survival mode, not rebellion, just exhaustion, just emotional fatigue, just trying to make it through another day. That is how Peter began sinking, not because he hated Jesus, but because fear became louder than trust for a moment. And tonight fear has been speaking very loudly around some of you. Fear of the future, fear of failure, fear that nothing will change, fear that your best days are behind you. There is someone listening right now who secretly feels emotionally trapped inside their own mind. You smile around others, yet internally your thoughts never stop running. Even during quiet moments, your soul feels restless. And the enemy has whispered this lie repeatedly. This is just who you are now. But my child, that is not true. You are not destined to live emotionally suffocated. You are not called to survive without joy. You are not meant to carry invisible heaviness forever. The enemy wants exhausted people because exhausted souls stop fighting for peace. They settle for numbness, and numbness is dangerous, because when people stop feeling hope, they slowly stop expecting healing. That is why heaven is interrupting this cycle tonight. Because I do not want you adapting to darkness. I do not want you becoming comfortable with inner emptiness. I do not want you mistaking survival for living. I want to breathe life into your soul again, real peace, real rest, real spiritual breath again, just as I found Elijah hiding inside a cave. I'm finding you now. Not to shame you for hiding, but to call you gently back into the light. My beloved child, the enemy entered quietly, but my voice is stronger than the darkness that entered silently. And what feels broken inside you tonight is not beyond restoration. My beloved child, you do not have to carry this weight alone anymore. For so long, you have tried to survive by being strong. Strong for your family, strong for your responsibility, strong for people who never realized how much pain you were hiding. But tonight, I'm not asking you to be stronger. I'm asking you to come closer. Because healing does not begin when a soul becomes perfect. Healing begins when a soul finally becomes honest. And maybe that is why this moment feels different. Maybe that is why your heart slowed down while listening to these words. Because deep inside, a part of you is finally tired of pretending. Tired of carrying invisible sadness alone. Tired of fighting silent battles in isolation. Tired of acting okay while your spirit quietly aches. My child, you were never created to live emotionally disconnected from my presence. A branch cannot survive long after separating itself from the vine. And neither can the human soul survive long without spiritual rest. That emptiness you feel, that heaviness, that exhaustion, it is not proof that I abandoned you. It is proof your soul is thirsty, thirsty for peace, thirsty for stillness, thirsty for my presence again. Just like the woman at the well, she came carrying shame, disappointment, emotional emptiness. She had spent years searching for fulfillment in places that could never truly heal her soul. And yet, I did not approach her with condemnation. I approached her with living water, because heaven does not heal people through shame. Heaven heals people through love. My beloved child, I know there are parts of your heart you have stopped talking about, dreams you buried quietly, prayers you stopped expecting answers to, wounds you learned to hide beneath busyness and distractions. But I have not forgotten any of them, not one tear, not one sleepless night, not one silent prayer whispered into the dark. I remember all of it, and tonight I am calling you back to me gently, not through fear, not through pressure, not through guilt, but through rest, real rest, the kind of rest your soul has been craving for far too long. There is someone listening right now who has been emotionally surviving for months, maybe even years. You wake up already tired. You carry anxiety into every new day. You overthink even small conversations. You constantly expect disappointment before hope, and slowly, your heart forgot what peace feels like. But listen carefully, my child. This season of inner dryness will not last forever. The fire inside you is not dead. It is simply buried beneath exhaustion. And I know how to restore weary souls. I know how to heal invisible. I know how to calm anxious thoughts. I know how to rebuild hearts that life nearly shattered, because I am closest to people who feel broken, closest to those who cry silently, closest to those who feel emotionally forgotten, closest to those who no longer know how to explain their pain. My beloved child, you do not need to impress me with perfect faith. You do not need eloquent prayers. Even your exhausted whisper reaches heaven. Even your tears speak. Sometimes the holiest prayer is simply, God, I'm tired, and tonight, instead of pushing you away, I'm pulling you closer, closer to peace, closer to healing, closer to the version of yourself that pain tried to erase. I'm restoring the parts of you that darkness slowly drained, like woe returning to an empty lamp, like rain falling onto dry ground after a long season of drought, like fire breathing warmth back into frozen hands. That is what my presence does. It restores life gently. My child, your story did not end in this valley. Your soul will breathe again. Your heart will feel joy again. Your mind will know stillness again. And one day, you will realize this painful season did not destroy you. It brought you back to me. My beloved child, the enemy tried to convince you that your pain made you useless, that your exhaustion disqualified you, that your emotional battles ruined future, that because you struggled silently, you could never be used by God again. But that is not how heaven sees you, because I have always had a pattern throughout history. I use wounded people, not perfect people, not people who never cried, not people who never doubted, not people who never collapsed emotionally. I use people who learned how to survive dark nights without completely letting go of me. Joseph was betrayed before he became a leader. David wept in caves before he sat on a throne. Ruth walked through grief before she stepped into restoration. And even now, any of the souls I'm preparing for purpose are currently walking through hidden battles, including you. My child, what if this painful season was not the end of your story? What if it was preparation? Preparation for compassion deeper than before. Preparation for wisdom. Preparation for spiritual strength. Preparation for the ability to recognize brokenness in other people. Because people who have suffered deeply often become the safest place for hurting souls. One day, someone will survive because you chose not to give up tonight. One day, your words will comfort someone standing exactly where you once stood. One day, your survival will become proof that healing is possible. The enemy wanted your pain to isolate you, but I will use it to make you a light, a voice, a refuge, a reminder that broken people are not forgotten in heaven. There is someone listening right now who secretly believes their best days are already behind them. You think you missed your moment, missed your purpose, missed your chance, but my beloved child, purpose does not disappear just because a soul becomes tired. Destiny does not die in seasons of weakness. Sometimes purpose sleeps beneath exhaustion, waiting for healing to awaken it again. And I tell you now, your calling still lives. Even after the heartbreak, even after the disappointment, even after the nights you almost gave up, I still see greatness inside you that pain could not erase. The enemy saw your potential. That is why the attack became so heavy. That is why the exhaustion felt so relentless. Because darkness fears people who carry light. And despite everything, you are still here, still breathing, still listening, still searching for hope. That alone is proof that heaven has not finished with your life. Child, I'm raising up people in this generation who understand pain intimately. People who know what anxiety feels like. People who know loneliness. People who know emotional exhaustion. Not so they remain trapped there forever, but so they can become bridges for others. Just as Joseph became a shelter during famine, your healed wounds will one day feed starving souls emotionally. Just as David learned worship in caves, your suffering will produce compassion impossible to fake. Nothing you endured will be wasted. Not the tears, not the waiting, not the confusion, not the lonely nights. I'm weaving purpose through all of it. And one day, you will look back and realize, the season that nearly broke you became the season that transformed you. My beloved child, do not bury your future because of temporary darkness. Do not assume silence means abandonment. Seeds grow underground before anyone sees life above the surface. And many of you listening tonight are still in the hidden season, the growing season, the unseen season. But heaven sees what is developing inside you: strength, wisdom, discernment, compassion, spiritual depth. You are becoming someone different through this battle. Someone softer, someone wiser, someone stronger spiritually. And when healing fully reaches your heart, you will not just survive, you will help other people survive too. Because your purpose still lives, and your story is far from over. My beloved child, before this message ends, I want you to breathe for a moment. Slowly. The noise settle. Let the pressure quiet down. Let your tired soul rest here with me for just a little longer. Because tonight is not about pretending anymore. It is not about performing strength. It is not about hiding pain behind another smile. Tonight, it is simply about coming home to my presence again. So wherever you are right now, whether you are lying awake in the dark, sitting alone with heavy thoughts, or silently fighting emotions nobody else understands, this prayer is for you. Pause. Heavenly Father, please hold the person listening to this right now. Wrap your peace around the parts of them that feel exhausted. Touch the mind that has been overwhelmed by anxiety. Touch the heart that has been wounded by disappointment. Touch the soul that has secretly felt alone for far too long. Lord, you saw every silent tear, every sleepless night, every hidden battle they never explained to anyone. And yet through all of it, you never stopped loving them. So tonight, let your presence enter every dark corner inside them. Where fear has lived, bring peace. Where shame has lived, bring mercy. Where exhaustion has lived, bring rest. Where hopelessness has lived, bring light again. Father, some people listening tonight are emotionally tired beyond words. They have carried responsibility while secretly falling apart inside. They have smiled in front of others while silently struggling in private. Please remind them now, they are not abandoned. They are not forgotten. They are not fighting alone. Breathe life back into weary souls tonight. Restore joy gently. Restore hope slowly. Restore emotional strength little by little. Like rain falling onto dry ground, that healing reach the deepest parts of their heart. Lord, break every lie that says their story is over. Break the fear that tells them nothing will ever change. Break the heaviness that has followed them for too long, and replace it with peace that does not depend on circumstances. My beloved child, I want you to hear this clearly before you leave tonight. You survived days you thought would destroy you. and you are still here, still breathing, still searching, still hoping, that means heaven is not done with your story. Your pain will not have the final word. Your anxiety will not define your future. Your exhaustion is temporary, but my love for you is eternal. And one day, you will realize that even in this painful season, I was carrying you the entire time. So tonight, rest. You do not have to figure everything out right now. You do not have to force tomorrow to happen tonight. Just breathe, and let my peace hold you for a while. If this message touched your heart, write Amen in the comment. And if you need prayer, share your prayer request below. Subscribe for more nightly messages of peace, healing, and encouragement. My beloved child, may your mind find rest tonight. May your heart find healing tonight. May your soul remember hope again tonight. And may the peace of heaven stay with you, even after this video ends. Amen.